Okay, the boy goes for help, and the girl stays in the car, and she hears this, like, scratching sound.
No, he's been decapitated, and it's the blood from his severed neck that's dripping on the car, and it's going drip, drip. No, he wasn't decapitated. He was gutted with a hook.
This classic 90s slasher is burned into the memory of everyone who grew up with it. It's a throwback to slashers from the 80s like Prom Night, My Bloody Valentine, and The House on Sorority Row. Within this movie, there's an ongoing mystery to determine who is killing people and stalking the core group. But was the reveal of who the killer was ever meant to be solvable? What is up, Nerd Detectives? Welcome back to another episode of Nerds at Night, where today we're talking all about... Today we are discussing the mystery at the heart of I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is who is stalking and attacking our group, and were we as an audience ever meant to solve the mystery before the reveal at the end. Now, as usual, grab a beer or grab a whiskey and let us begin. To begin to unravel today's mystery, let's compare I Know What You Did Last Summer to Scream, since both are teenage slashers and both were written by Kevin Williamson. In both movies, we are given the reveal for who the killer is at the end of the movie, but we arrive to that point in two different ways. You see, in Scream, when the killers are revealed to be Billy and Stu, the audience is familiar with these characters because we've met them very early on into the movie. This is a typical rule of thumb for murder mysteries. You introduce your villain within the first 30 to 40 minutes of the movie. In Scream, this happens as we meet Billy and Stu within the first 20 minutes of the movie. Throughout the movie, Billy and Stu both show up on your suspect list for who the killer could be. But the movie does a great job of throwing the audience off the scent of both of them by introducing other suspects and red herrings. Scream operates like a traditional murder mystery and gives the audience a chance to figure out the mystery of whodunit long before the end of the movie. Listen to the author of The Magpie Murders, Anthony Horowitz, give his thoughts on murder mysteries.
I always have to play 100% fair with my readers. The first question I ask is not, did you enjoy it, but did you guess it? If they do guess it, I feel a sense of disappointment, but at the same time, they have a right to be able to guess it, because if they can't guess it, then I haven't played fair.
With that in mind, let's dig in, shall we? In I Know What You Did Last Summer, we get our reveal for who the killer is at the end of the movie. But this is a character we've only semi-met in the beginning of the movie when our main crew hits him with Barry's car. But we as an audience don't know this at the time. The revelation is instead revealed at the end of the movie, and as we watch the beginning as a first-time viewer, we're never given a clear shot of the person's face who was struck by the vehicle. Also, at no point throughout the movie do we meet the killer Ben Willis as any sort of side character, and he also never crosses paths with our main crew outside of trying to attack them with his disguise on. So were we given any clues that would have pointed us to the identity of who the killer was prior to the end of the movie? Well, kind of. You see, we first need to discuss the story at the core of the movie that plays out in the background. While we don't know all the details of the story, by the end we realize this is actually the driving factor for why our characters are even being hunted one by one in the first place. You see, in the beginning of the movie, the first person we see is an unknown person drinking by the cliffs by the beach, seemingly contemplating ending his life. We're led to believe through matching wardrobe of this character and the body that is later hit by our main crew that this is the same character. The movie doubles down on this assumption when Julie fills in some of the details about who this stranger was.
His name was David Egan. He was found 3 weeks after his body was caught in a shrimp net not far from Miller's Dock. You can call it an accident all you want, but he died because of us, that's certain.
We go further down this rabbit hole as Julie and Helen visit David Egan's sister, looking for more answers as to who David Egan was, and to find out if anybody came around to ask about him. Julie returns later on throughout the movie and gets even more information on her second visit. Shortly after this scene, she looks up more information about the car accident that David was involved in, that also took the life of his girlfriend. This information is enough to help her crack the case on who the killer was the whole time. Now that we see how the background story plays out and ties into the group, let's see if there were any clues that could have helped us identify who the killer was the whole time. In the beginning of the movie, after the group hits the unknown person, the group then attempts to get rid of the body. But it's here we notice the unidentified person has a tattoo on his right arm. We're unsure of what it means at the moment, but it does come into play later in the movie. While we're sure this has to be an identifying marker for David, we later get this line when the tattoo is brought up again.
Your brother didn't kill himself. I saw him, I was there. He had Susie tattooed on his arm.
Tattoo? He doesn't have a tattoo on his arm.
I saw it on his
right
right
You didn't say
forearm.
anything. Get out of here.
The next clue we're given is who could have owned a slicker. While we see the slicker as a costume of choice for the killer, we notice it comes up a number of times as a piece of wardrobe other characters own. We see slickers hanging in the dock area behind Max while he's sorting crabs. We also find out Ray owns a slicker.
If he wanted me dead, he could have done it. He's just fucking with us.
Who is?
I don't know. Some guy in a slicker.
Well, that narrows it down.
Since you bring it up, we all know you have a slicker.
We also see a slicker that Missy owns. Additionally, we know it's something commonly worn by people on the docks. This is a helpful clue as we can deduce besides Missy, people who are near or around the docks do indeed own a slicker. This could point the finger to the killer being someone in the immediate vicinity of the docks. Our next set of clues is the narrowing of suspects through attacks. The first person we see get attacked is Max, who is likely the first person we were all suspicious of. This is interesting because why would the killer decide to kill Max? As far as we know, Max did not take part in disposing of the unknown body. The only thing he was guilty of was chatting and being threatened by Barry at the docks. If Max was on the hit list simply for that, this means our killer was somewhere close enough to see the interaction, but too far to hear what was being said. This is yet another big clue indicating to us that the killer is likely someone on the docks. The next attack happens to Barry when the killer attacks him with his own car. Shortly after this, Helen is then given a haircut by the killer. So immediately this means we can mark off Max, Barry, and Helen from our list of who the killer is since they are in the sight of the killer. We can also mark Julie off of our list as she was the first person to get a note from the killer and is sent a message with Max's body covered in crabs appearing in her car trunk. But who does that leave us with? Well, there is...
Leave him alone, Barry! Get a grip!
No, wake up, Julie. He's behind this.
But Ray informs the group he got a letter just like Julie. So if we believe him, this would mean that everyone from our core group is in the sights of the hooked killer.
Okay, so if it's not Fisher Boy here, who is it and how do we find it?
That indeed is the big question, Barry. If the killer is no one we can weed out from the people we've already met, including the side characters who are killed off left and right, then who is the killer? Well, that's the thing. Even with all the clues that we can add up, and even by deducting characters, we still can't pinpoint who the killer is. So who is the killer? Just tell us who the killer is in the movie.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
The closest we get to trying to solve who it is comes from this line.
Susie Willis killed, trapped in car, driver unharmed, survived by her father Benjamin, a local fisherman.
Well, now this all adds up as we could tell from our clues the killer was likely at the docks when Barry approached Max and wears a slicker like the fisherman at the docks. This makes sense as he himself is a fisherman. So we know who we're looking for at this point, but throughout the movie we have yet to meet an older male character who is a fisherman. That's until the very end of the movie. While we finally know who it is, that doesn't solve the question. That being, were we ever meant to figure out who the killer was before this moment? The answer based on everything we're aware of is clearly no. Even if we added up every clue, dissected every line, and deduced the suspects, we still would have never guessed who the killer was. Additionally, up until the end, we had never even seen the killer without his disguise. We had never been formally introduced to the character without his disguise. And we had never seen the killer be a passerby in a scene. So was this fair to us, the audience? No, absolutely not. But was it meant to be? Clearly, the writer, Kevin Williamson, knew how to write a whodunit with Scream 1, 2, and 4. But that wasn't the case here. Either we were given breadcrumbs that led to nowhere and Kevin was off his game for this movie, or it was never meant to be solved on purpose. But because the emphasis was on the slasher aspect and not the murder mystery portion. But why does any of this matter though? Well, as we walk into a reboot of this franchise in just a few weeks, I want to set proper expectations of attempting to solve who the killer might be. I think in this new movie we will be given clues, we will be given lines of dialogue to dissect, we will be given a suspect list that will be cut down for us as the movie progresses. But we should keep in mind that much like the first movie, we may not be able to identify who the killer is until the last minute, until the final scene, and until it's too late. Let's make no mistake though, if we keep in mind the clues and keep in mind where characters were during certain attacks, we'll be able to see past the red herring that's thrown at us in the final act, and we will be able to detect who the killer is the moment we meet them in the movie. Let me know what you think, Nerd Detectives. Was I right about not being able to solve this, or were you able to solve the movie before the end? Also, were there any clues that gave away the killer? Will you be checking out the latest Scream make of I Know What You Did Last Summer? Let me know in the comments. What's up, Nerd Detectives? I appreciate you watching this video. I hope you liked it. Hope you learned something new. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear from you about this movie, or if you're going to see the new one. And if you did like this, feel free to check out Whiskey in a Mystery. It's a new segment, new series on this channel. The first episode was I Know What You Did Last Summer. So if you're looking to just sort of build up the anticipation for the new movie coming out, go ahead and check that out. And of course, if you like any of the murder mystery stuff, feel free to check out any of the Scream breakdowns that we have on the channel. If you're not already doing it, feel free to click like, click subscribe, follow us, follow the Drunk Banthas who host our Monday shows and our Thursday shows. Feel free to follow 9 Nerd Yards, which is the other channel in our family of channels on this channel right here. As always, I want to thank y'all for tuning in, for making the show a success, for helping us get over 10K subscribers, and we're continuously growing every day. So, man, just want to say thank you. Big thank you to all of y'all. Hope y'all are having a great summer. And as always, whether it's morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this, I do appreciate you. And until the next case, I will see ya. Peace.